Welcome to Swim. This is a hero for our time, of our time. It was that kind of unlucky day. Well, we rested for a little while and set out for home. We rode side by side in silence, our reins slack. We were almost at the fort. Only the brush was now hiding it from us. Suddenly a shot rang out. We glanced at each other. The same suspicion struck us both. We galloped headlong in the direction of the shot. We saw soldiers crowding on the rampart and pointed toward the field. And there a horseman was flying at full speed, holding something wide across his saddle. The Korean let out a yell no worse than that any Chechen. His rifle came out of its case and off he went. I followed. Fortunately, because of our unsuccessful hunt, our horses were not worn out. They strained forward from under the saddles, and at last I recognized Kasvich. Only I could not distinguish what it was that he held in front of him. At this point I came abreast of Pechorin and cried to him, "It's Kasvich!" He glanced at me, nodded his head, and whipped his horse. Well, at last we got within rifle range of him. Whether Kasvich's horse was worn out or was worse than our mounts, I don't know. Only in spite of all his efforts, it was not making a great deal of progress. I think that at this moment he must have remembered his carajos. I looked and saw Pechorin take aim at full gallop. "Don't fire!" I cried to him. "Save your shot. We'll catch up with him anyway." But those youngsters, they always lose their heads at the wrong time. The shot rang out and the bullet broke the hind leg of Kasvich's horse. Carried on by impetus, it looked another 10 bounds or so, then stumbled and fell to its knees. Kasvich jumped off. And then we saw that he was holding in his arms a woman wrapped up in a yashmak. It was Bella. Poor Bella. He wrapped up in a yashmak. He shouted, it was Bella. Poor Bella. He shouted something at us in his own tongue and raised his dagger over her. No time could be lost. I fired in my turn. At random. The bullet must have hit him in the shoulder because he suddenly lowered his arm. When the smoke had cleared, the wounded horse lay on the ground, and beside it lay Bella, while Kasvich, having abandoned his rifle, was scrambling like a cat up the scrub of the cliff. I would have liked to bring him down, but I had no charge ready. We jumped off our horses and rushed over Bella. Poor little thing, she was lying motionless, and blood poured out of her wound in streams. What a villain! He could at least have hit her in the heart. Then, after all, it would have been over with one blow, but in the back, the most treacherous stab. She was unconscious. We tore up the veil and bound up the wound as tight as we could. In vain did Pechorin kiss her cold lips. Nothing could restore her to consciousness. Pechorin mounted his horse and lifted her off the ground and seated her on his saddle as best I could. He put his arm around her and we rode back. After a few minutes of silence, Pechorin said to me, "Look here, Maxim Maximich, we'll never get her home alive this way." "That's true," I said, and we set our horses going at full speed. A crowd of people was waiting for us at the gate of the fort. Carefully we carried the wounded girl to Pechorin's quarters and sent for the doctor. Although he was drunk, he came, examined the wound, and announced that she could not live more than 1 day. Only he was wrong. "She recovered?" I asked the junior captain, grasped him by the arm and involuntarily feeling glad. "No," he answered. "The doctor's mistake was that she lingered 2 days." "But explain to me how on earth Kasvich managed to carry her off." Well, this is how it happened. Despite Pechorin's prohibition, despite Pechorin's oh, sorry, despite Pechorin's prohibition, she had gone out of the fort to the river. It was, don't you know, a very hot day. She sat down on a stone and dipped her feet in the water. Here Kazmich stealthily approached, scrabbled her up, clapped his hand over her mouth, and dragged her off into the bushes. Once there, he jumped onto his horse and went off. Meanwhile, she had had time to scream. The sentries were alerted. They fired but missed, and at the next moment we rode up. But why did Kazmich want to take her away? Well, you see, it is a known fact that these Circassians are a bunch of thieves. They cannot help filching anything that is within reach. They may not need the thing, and yet they will steal it. They simply can't be held responsible for that. And besides, he had had a liking for her for a long time. A hero of our time.